Open Your Eyes is brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina D.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And good morning, Paul. It's a Monday morning here. It's also the 1st of July.
It is. It's the start of a new month.
Yes.
Which means for us it's the start of new things.
The second half of the year as well.
Yeah, it's the second. Right. It's the start of the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you this morning for joining us. Wherever you are watching from, whether it's in your living room, your bedroom, you're just waking up, pouring that first cup of coffee, we want to thank you for joining us right here on Open Your Eyes, the perfect place to start your morning right.
Absolutely. We also have to start our morning right with an update on the current situation with Hurricane Beryl. Paul, we are privileged this morning to have here with us Frank Tench. Of course, he is no stranger to your homes when it comes to getting that update as it relates to weather systems. And of course, he's here representing the National Meteorological Service. Good morning, Mr. Tench, and welcome.
Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Now, we want to thank you for being here this morning. I think over the weekend into this morning, a lot of Belizeans are on the edge of their seats. Pretty much concerned with the fact that this system seems to be developing fast. That's one of the things that I think concerns a lot of Belizeans, as well as the fact that some projections, if not most, seems to agree that Hurricane Beryl, which is a major hurricane at this point in time, seems to want to take a vacation of sorts off the coast of Belize and Cancun, or at least Yucatan, Mexico. These are what the latest projections are showing. Mr. Tench, let's talk about it. What are we seeing with this system? First of all, how it has developed through the weekend, and then we'll get into some of the projections throughout the course of this week.
Yes, Beryl developed very rapidly over the weekend into a major hurricane, as it is right now. And the projections from late last week were suggesting an eventual impact on perhaps the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, or perhaps a part of Belize. Those projections have been consistently maintaining the storm on a track that will eventually bring it making landfall somewhere between the Yucatan Peninsula and Belize. And when tracks are so consistent, you have to pay attention to every little move that a storm like Beryl is making. As I said, currently it's a major hurricane. The forecast suggests the storm is going to sort of lose some of its intensity as it moves through the Central Caribbean, somewhere south of Jamaica, and then head towards the Northwest Caribbean with a possible impact on either Belize or the Yucatan Peninsula. So we do have to be vigilant on the progress of this storm, because it is a powerful storm, and also the projections are suggesting it's going to make an impact on the Caribbean coast of the Yucatan Peninsula or Belize as a hurricane even. So
perhaps a category 2, who knows at this time. Are we able to say this early in what the strength of the hurricane will be when it makes landfall Western Caribbean, Central America?
The current projections suggest the storm would probably reach the Caribbean coast of Yucatan or Belize as a Category 1 hurricane, maybe a Category 2. wind speeds ranging anywhere between maximum sustained winds ranging anywhere between 100 to say 110, 20 miles per hour. So that is a potent storm. I must remind you that intensity forecasts are some of the most difficult forecasts to accept with any reliability. Trajectory forecasts tend to be more accurate, and the accuracy has increased significantly over the last 15 to 20 years. So I think what we need to be mindful of, the intensity forecasts have been consistently bringing the storm into the Western Caribbean. The intensity forecasts will vary, and so that again is a factor we have to pay close attention to, how intense the storm will be once it makes landfall.
So let's assess a bit, let's take a bit of time to assess intensity and the intensity of certain systems, whether it's a tropical storm, category 1 or a category 2 system. And given the projected path, which is a bit more accurate, what's the scenarios, likely scenarios when it comes to impact or the sort of effects of these levels?
Okay. If you're dealing with a storm impacting you as a category 1 hurricane, the threats would be to property, the risk of the storm surge, the strength of the storm surge itself, and those impacts increase as the intensity of the intensity of the storm increases. So you start at the low end with a category 1 storm making impact with a category 1 as a category 1 hurricane, where the impacts would be damage to property, the disruption of electrical services, transportation is disrupted, flooding, and all these impacts increase as the intensity of the storm increases. That being said, you don't even need to have a category 1 hurricane to have those impacts.
That's true.
If the storm is moving slowly, the impacts of flooding become even more severe. So you just have to weigh the impacts against the intensity of the storm and how fast it's moving, how quickly it moves over land, and also the factors that will allow it to maintain its intensity.
Well, one thing I think a lot of us have been observing, as Paul mentioned, is that Beryl seemingly is moving quite at its own pace. As of yesterday evening, we were waiting for an official update on Hurricane Beryl making landfall in Barbados as a Category 4. If we look at the satellite imagery there, I believe this is up to date. Does it look like Beryl is currently making landfall in Barbados and also the other Windward Islands?
Yeah, I would say, in fact, the projections from over the weekend were suggesting landfall on the island of Barbados and parts of Trinidad by this morning. So
they are currently experiencing a Category 4 hurricane. What are the winds looking like when we're talking a Category 4?
Okay, a Category 4 hurricane wind speeds range between 130 to maybe 145 mile per hour sustained winds.
Wow.
Yeah, and if the sustained winds get higher than 145 miles to say 150 miles per hour, then you're dealing, I think it's 151 miles per hour, then you're dealing with a Category 5 hurricane.
Wow.
Pretty major hurricane.
Mr. Tench, as a forecaster, when was the last time that we have observed something of this magnitude or a storm of this magnitude in the Atlantic basin, potentially threatening us here in Belize?
Yeah. This is a rather unusual storm in many senses. One, at this time of the year, you don't typically have tropical storms or hurricanes forming in the tropical Atlantic and entering the Caribbean. You would expect that development scenario to be more likely say, as you head into the months of August, September. June, July, the formation zones tend to be in the Gulf of Mexico, a portion of the Western Caribbean, and the frequency of such storms with this type of intensity is extremely rare. And I think the comment has been made that this is the first major hurricane in the month of June for quite some time, as far back as records have been kept. So this storm has some unique characteristics. Another thing is that the projections maintain this hurricane traversing through the Caribbean as a major hurricane until it reaches perhaps near Jamaica, where intensity forecasts suggest it's going to undergo some degeneration.
What would cause that degeneration?
Upper level conditions mainly, and perhaps some impact on the mountains of Jamaica.
Okay.
But another factor that I think is allowing this storm to survive, or likely to survive through its passage through the Caribbean, is that the sea surface temperatures are extremely warm. 28 degrees Celsius, I think some areas even 30 degrees Celsius. So you have a positive anomaly in the Caribbean, which will give the storm that energy to survive through the Caribbean. Many times storms that form in this location and traverse through the Caribbean eventually die before they enter the Western Caribbean. But the projections, as I say, have been consistently maintaining this storm as a major hurricane for a greater part of its lifetime through the Caribbean, and then weakening to maybe a hurricane as it enters the Western Caribbean. So this has some unique characteristics.
Does the current weather patterns that we're seeing have anything to do with the announcement of us being in La Nina type season?
Okay, could you repeat that question
Does
again?
Does the current weather patterns that we're seeing, for instance, Hurricane Beryl, have any correlation with the La Nina that was announced, or the El Nino that was announced by the Met Service?
Okay, we are currently in a neutral phase, which is favorable for tropical cyclone development. The trend for the seasonal forecasts do suggest that we're going to evolve into a La Nina phase come July, August, September, that trimester. And that is also favorable for tropical cyclone development. Hence the seasonal forecast suggesting such high numbers for this year's hurricane season. That factor in itself plays into the scenario where you can expect systems like this forming. A major hurricane this early in the hurricane season, a major hurricane being able to traverse the Caribbean as a hurricane and survive its passage across the Caribbean. These are all scenarios that play into these are all factors that play into the scenario that we are in for a very active hurricane season. And I might add further, climate change studies do suggest we're likely to have more fierce hurricanes in the coming years. The trend is already evident over the last 5 years with some major hurricanes, not impacting Belize or the Caribbean, but occurring in the Atlantic basin itself.
I want to talk a bit about timing, the timing of this system in terms of the projected timing for this week. We're Monday, this is bright and early Monday morning.
Yeah.
What are we looking at throughout the course of this week based on forecasted projections in terms of when do we anticipate landfall or land contact later on in this week for Yucatan Peninsula as well as certain parts of Belize? And I would also like if you can, perhaps as we go back to looking at the threats, compare, if we would, in my mind, the latest hurricane experience, Lisa.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
That was
yes.
November
November
2022.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, yes.
That's in the back of people's minds.
Yes.
Are we thinking of something like that, an experience similar? So timing
Or will
for
it be
this week
worse?
and comparing it a bit to Hurricane Lisa and the threats there.
Okay, you bring up a very important point. This storm has formed very early in the hurricane season, the end of June, beginning of July, as a major hurricane. And with the current trend forecast suggesting it's likely to reach the Western Caribbean as a hurricane early in the season. Lisa, 2 years ago, came at the end of the hurricane. The 2022 hurricane season as a Category 1 hurricane. And previous to that, Belize has never experienced the impact of a hurricane in the month of November, as far as I can recall. So you're looking at two unusual events happening. A hurricane at the late end of the hurricane season in 2022, and a major hurricane at the start of the 2024 hurricane season as a major hurricane, being able to traverse the Caribbean and maintain its intensity to some degree, and a possible impact on Yucatan Peninsula and Belize as well. So these are some of the unusual things that all correlate with what climate change studies are suggesting. We're not really completely understanding all the factors that contribute to why these anomalies are happening, but
Climate change is one explanation.
Yeah,
and it's a good
broadly
explanation.
speaking, yeah.
So going to the projected time
Get
of
back to your
landfall.
question.
Yes.
Okay. I would say as far as up to Wednesday, we could continue with this watch and wait situation posture. Take that posture. Watch what it happens. Watch how it moves. But between Wednesday and Friday, you need to start to think critically about taking action. And I when I say action, your family plans, your organizational plans, how you're gonna deal with evacuation of communities that become increasingly at risk after Wednesday. I would also suggest that as early as Tuesday, tomorrow, at least people in the meteorological field would need to also look at rainfall forecasts.
From before landfall.
Yeah. Because right now the
Yeah.
rainfall forecast and the model forecasts for rainfall probabilities don't carry much weight.
Yeah.
All they'll probably be saying right now, south and coastal. But rainfall probability forecasts coming out tomorrow, maybe late this evening, will start to show the likelihood of rainfall estimates for coastal Belize. If you look at any of the rainfall projections right now, all they're predicting is what kind of rainfall scenario is likely up to maybe Jamaica.
Yeah.
But beyond Jamaica,
It's anybody's guess.
yeah, don't put much faith in rainfall forecasts.
I want to jump in right there because when we're talking about threats, rainfall is definitely one of them. And then you also mentioned earlier strong winds. I know that within these systems there's unannounced gusts as well, so that comes, and sometimes these gusts are even hurricane force.
Yeah.
But while you could also touch on that a bit, let's talk a bit about the unpredictability of the point of contact or where the landfall will come, because as I understand it, these systems have a characteristic of a wobbling effect per se, where when it gets closer to where it's making landfall, but even out at sea, it goes up, it goes down, and a bit of wobbling southwards could actually cause the eye of the storm, in some instances, based on some projections, to go across Belize, northern Belize specifically.
Yeah. The wobbling is a intrinsic factor for any hurricane, and the wobbling depends on how strong the storm is. How the stronger the winds of a storm, the less wobble it has. But the slower the storm maximum sustained winds are, then that degree of wobbling would tend to increase. That's an inbuilt factor in a storm. And then when it impacts land areas, or maybe like we have the Barrier Reef out there. Beyond the Barrier Reef, the wobbling would be much less than within the Barrier Reef, because the depth of the waters are shallower within the Barrier Reef, so it encounters more friction, the storm itself, and that contributes to making it rather difficult to establish exactly the point of where the center of the storm is going to make landfall. So it is a factor that you cannot say. I would never tell you a storm is going to make landfall here at Keokuk or make landfall at Belize City. That you just have to watch and wait, and which is one of the reasons that you find that meteorologists rely a lot on what the radar says, because that's your last line of defense for watching how a storm approaches a land area and make a decision.
I think in a case like this, similar to what took place when we were covering Lisa, is to ensure that the entire country takes the necessary precautions. We remember when Lisa made landfall, primarily Belize district or Belize city felt the majority of the impacts, while areas in the southern parts of the country remain generally untouched. But regardless of that, you don't know what could potentially take place in the last couple hours. And in this case, we, as you mentioned there, Paul, we saw where Hurricane Beryl was projected to go more northwest, but it seemingly took
a little bit dip down south.
A dip down south, which isn't good news for us here in Belize.
So I guess the question is, Mr. Tench, what should Belizeans be doing today as we look towards the middle of the week and farther into the end of the week? And what sort of actions should we be preparing to take over the course of the next 2 days?
Okay. First thing, be aware that we are being faced with a difficult week ahead. And have your hurricane plan dusted up and to look at, and take measures to implement that plan. My cutoff day for making any firm decision would be Wednesday. No later than Wednesday.
So good. That's
good. In terms of say the large scale planning, government policymakers and so on, do that planning maybe from tomorrow. Because by tomorrow we'll definitely have a better idea of what the storm is doing, where it's likely to make impact. Rainfall estimates are probably going to be have higher reliability to make projections about flood risk and so on. And then after you make your decision by Wednesday, think about executing between Wednesday and Thursday. And Friday, you should have everything in place, because the current trajectory forecast has a storm impacting Belize late Thursday night, early Friday morning. So you should be in have your plan executed, up and running by Thursday.
Almost like what we're seeing in Barbados and St. Lucia, that they're you started to see some impact into last night,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
coming into this morning.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, best case scenario for Belize.
Worst case scenario, the storm makes impact over northern Belize. Best case scenario, the storm, when I say impact, where the eye of the storm crosses. Best case scenario, the storm makes impact on the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. And we are faced with tropical storm force winds at most, and intense rainfall, particularly over the northern districts and the Keys and coastal areas. Best case scenario.
By when should we have a greater level of certainty on all of this? I see you smiling. Tell me, what's your thoughts?
I say by Wednesday.
By Wednesday.
By Wednesday, you should have a pretty good idea about to execute or not.
Well, Mr. Tench, I think what is clear to all of us here is that we still have some time to prepare, and that's
Yes.
most important.
Yes.
I think it's also important to share in the same breath for our viewers to take advantage of that time. As you mentioned, between now and Wednesday, we should be dusting off our hurricane preparedness plans and not be put in a position of doing all these last minute planning
Yeah.
on Thursday, because between now and Wednesday is really the point of where we'll be knowing what exactly will take place later in the week.
Exactly.
If I could just jump in right there, because they pull up this graphics, and I want to ask quickly, Mr. Tench, outside of Beryl, there seems to be some activities taking place behind the system, as well as we saw the new tropical storm
Chris.
named overnight.
Right.
Right? What are we looking at there? Is the one behind Beryl? Is it too early to determine if there's any concerns there? And then, Chris, one would imagine as it moves west, there may not be much of an impact to Belize?
Not much in terms of rainfall, because it's probably going to dissipate, weaken significantly as it moves over land, Mexico. One slight scenario would be, because some of our northern rivers have their origins in parts of Mexico, with the amount of rainfall being produced by that system, that could create a flooding, could create some impact on our northern rivers. But that would be the extent of the impacts I would expect from Chris.
Now, Mr. Tench, we want to thank you so much for coming on this morning, joining us in this conversation. There's a lot of people viewing this live this morning right now. Everybody's tuned in, trying to get the latest and trying to understand what's happening with Beryl and what we could anticipate for the remainder of the week. And I think you've done a very good job in giving us some clarity. There's nothing like information that gives you a sense of control so that you could move forward and decide for yourselves what to do. I know that last night the Office of the Prime Minister issued a press release which says that basically there needs to be some level of preparedness regarding Hurricane Beryl, which poses a potential threat to Belize. And then the release, I'm reading from it, it says that we're also aware of groundswell panic leading to a rush on grocery stores and other stores selling plywood and other materials. That has led to unscrupulous shopkeepers and hardware store owners raising the prices of their goods. And the government is Office of the Prime Minister is basically warning businesses against this sort of unscrupulous price gouging and informing Belizeans to be aware at the same time.
And also that there will be repercussions
Of course,
for
of
these
course.
Stores that are in the act of price gouging.
Definitely. So once again, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Tench. It's truly appreciated.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, well, Paul, as we move into the rest of our show, we do want to touch really quickly on our Eye on the News, as it is a Monday morning. So we want to give you a bit of an update on what took place over the weekend and just some of the topics that you can expect in our newscast.
All right, and so as we jump into the Eye on the News for this morning, there's several things that are up for discussion. One is the fact that we are still, well, it's been what we would refer to as a bloody weekend.
Yes.
There's still been incidents, reports of murders happening. We saw a shooting incident here in Belize City over the weekend involving a young lady, and there seems to be reports of dispute or at least some sort of physical altercation involving her partner at a nightclub this weekend, which then led to a shooting, and so that young lady is in a critical condition. We saw in the West seems to be one of those painstaking areas for law enforcement,
At least
as well as
recently.
crime of recently. So we saw where a young man was murdered by way of an altercation that led to a stabbing over the weekend. And then in Orange Walk as well, there was a shooting incident that led to the death of another individual. So as far as we're seeing it, there seems to be 2 murders over the weekend, and then a shooting incident in Belize City. All to say that this is within the scope of a ongoing state of emergency within Belize City, as well as within certain parts of western Belize. And I know that the Commissioner of Police and the police department have been doing a lot to try and quell these incidences, and perhaps that there's going to be an explanation that suggests that these incidents are, how would it say, they're isolated, and that they're not necessarily gang-related.
to gangs.
But perhaps when you look at the larger picture, it speaks to the current situation where lawlessness is concerned, and the fact that there seems to be a sense of a desensitization to healthy fear for law enforcement and respect for the rules of law at this time that would cause someone or influence or encourage someone to stab somebody or take somebody's life by way of a gun or to shoot in the direction of a female in Belize City. And so this is something we're watching closely.
I mean, Paul, we saw the extent of what this has gone to last week, where the Commissioner of Police's own personal home, came as a target. Of course, he informed us that that matter has been dealt with. I believe an individual was also under investigation and a person was detained. But interestingly, in Friday's newscast, we were able to get a comment from the leader of the opposition, Moses Shine-Barrow. And he had different views on it. He mentioned that this perhaps should be a sign for the Commissioner of Police that indeed he needs to step down. Now, we also saw the Commissioner of Police made a post online on social media.
Did not sit well with
did not sit well with him. So he made a post online on social media over the weekend, and he stated, some people sit and wait for something bad to happen and try to use it as an opportunity to gain political points. This is rather unfortunate, as it is tantamount to glorifying the criminals. That's an interesting point. Shine-Barrow, you continue to show that you are heartless and will stop at nothing to gain power. But please, for God's sake, if you have nothing positive to say about what happened at my house, best you don't say anything. And so you know, Belmopan City is not under a state of emergency.
Right.
He had an interesting point there where he mentions that perhaps the leader of the opposition is glorifying these criminals. What's your thoughts on that, Paul?
Well, I know for sure the part where he spoke about, clarified that Belmopan is not under a state of emergency is because the leader of the opposition misspoke when he said that the Commissioner of Police's home is in an area that is under a state of emergency.
Right.
So that perhaps was a clarification. But we know that the Commissioner of Police and the leader of the opposition, they are two characters, and I use that term loosely, that goes at each other's heads when it comes to crime and when it comes to violence in the country, because the leader of the opposition is very critical of the police, and a lot of that falls on the shoulders of the Commissioner of Police, who speaks up. He doesn't tend to be a pushover, and so he speaks up, and he speaks for the force, and he speaks for the department. And so that's what I see playing out there between the leader of the opposition and the Commissioner of Police. But we also heard from the Commissioner of Police over the weekend on a situation that we can't necessarily go into details over it, but it's tantamount to cyberbullying. And so we saw where the Commissioner of Police issued a statement following this viral sharing or this widespread sharing of a video that, as I said, it's basically tantamount to cyberbullying. And the Commissioner of Police has basically said, reminded social media users that it's an offense under the Cyber Act for anyone to use a computer device to produce or distribute any video or photographs with the intent to humiliate, harm, or subject a person to public ridicule or embarrassment. Again, this came on the heels of a viral video, which basically, for lack of a better word, exposes a group of women and an individual in a manner that shouldn't be made public, or that shouldn't be for the consumption of a wide audience or for anybody's eyes, as a matter of fact, except for in private. And that video went viral. If you were on social media, you would have seen a lot of people talking about it, people posting it, sharing it, making memes. I appreciate one comment that an individual made saying that in this time, we really shouldn't be bullying these young ladies, but we should be showing support because it's already a difficult time for them. And these are individuals that have families, they have siblings, and they perhaps also have a career and a job, and they would have to go out there and face this level of ridicule that is already being, and scrutiny that's already being perpetuated on social media. So on the law side, it's important to know that this is cyberbullying, and there is an act in place that criminalizes this sort of behavior. But on the personal side, man, have some heart.
Absolutely.
Have some heart, and let's support these individuals as they go through this difficult times every now.
All right. Well, Paul, that does it for our Eye on the News this morning. We do have a jam-packed show to jump into, so as we mentioned, if you would like any further details on these topics and more, definitely catch us on our 6 p.m. newscast right here on Channel 5. All right, moving into the rest of our show. As we mentioned, we have an interesting show lined up for you. Starting things off, we'll be joined by Honorable Dolores Garcia, who will be talking to us about the Cabinet grants approval for Belize to accede to the 3 international conventions.
And then in our second conversation,
Miss Jenny.
and I know how to introduce this conversation because we lost a great one over on Friday. We received news that we lost Jenny Lovell. And so in our second segment, we'll spend some time remembering Miss Jenny. I get cold feet and I'll just think about it. We'll spend some time remembering Miss Jenny as we pay tribute to her in our second segment.
Absolutely. And in our final conversation, we'll be talking about the Belize project. So you want to sit tight and stay tuned with us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be sitting down with Honorable Dolores Garcia. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm David Humes. This is Vanessa Humes. We own Littleville Cool Spot. Belize Bank save us a lot of time. Working with them, we can keep track exactly what we spend. We recommend Belize Bank 100% because we don't have to go to stand up in line, and we can check on our account right from our house. Working with Belize Bank is the best.
Make light work lighter and quicker with switch technology from accede Power Tools. accede switch technology breaks the bondage of power cords and grants you the luxury of freedom and precision. Switch one battery across all your accede line power tools effortlessly, allowing for quick and efficient work. Cut the cords. Choose efficiency with accede switch technology. Only at Belize. Quality and savings.
2,251,000 slices of watermelon are eaten by tourists each year in Belize, benefiting local farmers and processors directly. Tourism means business.
Belize's favorite Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 6. On Tuesday, July 2nd at 8 p.m., we go live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets for the live show are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive and at the 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard for only $5. Come out to win fabulous prizes and a chance to compete in our KTV challenges. Catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube. KTV The Remix Season 6 is going to be exciting, fun, and only on 5.
Do you know how to choose the best engine oil for your car? We believe the best engine oil should provide optimal performance and ultimate protection for longer. For Quartz engine oil, our engineers have formulated age resistance technology, also known as ART. It's a breakthrough innovation. The interaction between oil molecules is increased, creating a super resistant molecular structure. So whatever the conditions, it helps to prevent the lubricant protective film from breaking. Any engine is exposed to harsh conditions: extreme temperature and pressure, friction, sludge accumulation. The molecular structure of quartz with ART stays strong to perfectly lubricate and protect engine parts in all conditions. And the results are outstanding. Protection against sludge buildup improved by 18%. Protection against mechanical wear improved by 74%. Thanks to Quartz with ART, save on maintenance and preserve your engine's power. So next time you wonder which engine oil to use, choose performance and protection that lasts longer. Quartz with age resistance technology. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Good morning. Thank you for calling me. This is your inspection first. Once the inspection passes, we do the connection for you.
Our teams at BEL continue to serve you.
Welcome back. This is our first conversation for this morning, and we are joined by none other than Honorable Dolores Garcia, Minister of Human Development, Families, and Indigenous Peoples Affairs. And she's in with us to speak about, give us some further details on the fact that Cabinet has granted its approval for Belize to accede to 3 international conventions. And Minister, as I understand it, these conventions are particularly geared towards protecting children and Belize's children in this context. Speak to us a bit about the details of these conventions. By the way, good morning.
Indeed,
Good morning.
Before I do that, could I publicly once again, we did it in the National Assembly, but publicly once again offer condolences to the family of our late beloved Jenny. She needs no introduction, really,
Yes.
you know. And Jenny was our first director of the Community Rehabilitation Department, and also she was one of our senior trainers for the COMPAR program, Community and Parent Empowerment Program of our Ministry of Human Development. So she goes way, 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 way back with
Yes.
us. And it's a severe and a great loss. And so what can we do? I mean, I was listening to the Mass in Blues yesterday on the radio, and let's just honor her memory.
Absolutely.
And offer the condolences to her family once again, you know, yes.
Thank
But
you for those words, Minister.
no, please. It's de nada, as you would say.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do it. We have
Yeah.
to do it. We are all human. It's a road for us all, as my mom used to say, you know. We don't know when we'll go, right? Tomorrow, said tomorrow is promised to no one.
Indeed,
So that's
yeah.
how we have to live nice, you
As
know.
the song says, you just have to accept the things you cannot
Change,
right?
Guys,
correct. That
wow.
was it. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yes, last week was a busy week, and two of the three conventions have to do with child protection. Under the scheme of the International Hague Convention, and what we are already a signatory to, what we have already acceded to, is the Hague Convention on International Child Abduction. So for example, if you have two married persons, they're not getting along, and one of them decides, okay, I'm going to run out of the country with the child. And that really is taking away the rights of the other parent.
And we've
So-
reported on that numerous
Absolutely,
times.
and we've used it.
Yes.
We've used it. But these two other conventions in relation to children have to do with further protection under the same international scheme of The Hague. And so one of them has to do with custody and guardianship across borders. Now remember, we haven't signed on to them yet, but having seen that there was a gap, that we had not accepted these and acceded to these two conventions, we said, okay, it's timely that we should bring them forward. And let me just pause to acknowledge our Child Justice Committee under the National Commission for Families and Children, Judge Antoinette Moore, there's Judge Dixon, there's our acting executive director, Ms. Shakira Sutherland, and all the people who work in our various committees of the National Commission for Families and Children. And so when it was noticed that we have not yet acceded to those two conventions, we said, well, let's move on it very quickly.
Yeah.
No, we haven't acceded yet.
Okay.
But since Cabinet has given approval, we will move towards it through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then in terms of international conventions, they go to the Senate for approval, and then we can sign on to them. But getting back to the question of the first one, the first one has to do with custody and guardianship, but across borders. So where you might have one country have one set of laws, a different country have another set of laws, this convention tries to make sure that one set of laws doesn't go against the other in relation to the important point of protecting children and making sure that the parents can have custody, guardianship, etc. And the second one, allow me,
No, go ahead.
the second one is having to do with child maintenance. You know, I mean, suppose the daddy, well, you know, we have a lot of deadbeat dads, and that's not good news for Belize. We have a lot of deadbeat dads. And Minister Francis Fonseca and several of us in Cabinet, when we were discussing this, you know, we were saying, I'm not revealing Cabinet confidentialities, but
No, it's okay, you can
but
reveal it
right.
here.
No, no. I call Minister Fonseca's name because he is so passionate, along with the rest of us, on the protection of children. And when it comes to child support and maintenance, the daddy might run away. Maybe he gone the States, maybe he gone wherever, and you can't, and then the mother is there. And what do you do about the protection of that child in terms of maintenance? They have to eat, they have to have a roof over their head, they have to go to a doctor, they have to go to school, they have to go clothes on their back. And so these are the kinds of things that these conventions, when we sign on to them, hopefully in the next month or two, we will be taking further steps to make sure that across a border, the long arm of the law can reach out and say to this deadbeat dad, pay your damn money, man. excuse the expletive.
No, that's okay.
No, but the point is, child protection and child maintenance are so extremely important. I want to pause to tell you a little story. There's a guy that got married very young to, well, he is not that young, but he got married to a very young woman from one of the Central American republics. I won't say exactly which one. And they had a child together. They were legally married. And then all of a sudden one day, the mommy pick up and she decides she going back to the country and carry the picnic without telling the
father,
dad.
yeah.
The father came to me with, as we would say in Belize, living eye water. Living eye water, crying. And he actually left the country for almost a year, went to that country, went through the whole family court system of that country, and managed to get back his child, because that child is Belizean. She have a Belizean birth paper. And the child was not being cared for by the mother. The mother was hauling her from pillar to post. There was neglect. There was severe neglect. Changed the child's name to try to run away from the law.
Wow.
But he was traveling with his marriage certificate, the birth certificate of the child, Belizean child. And now I am so very happy to report that after a long battle, that little girl is
Back home in Belize.
back home in Belize and graduated from Liberty Preschool.
And this falls under the first convention, correct?
This would fall, yes, but he maybe would not have had to travel out of the country. The law would have stepped in, and the governance structure of our country could have stepped in to do that retrieval or that recovery of that child, to make sure that that child will have a good future in Belize as a Belizean child.
So then that would be some of the gaps that you mentioned?
Yes, precisely. That would address some of the gaps that I'm mentioning, you know. So one of the conventions goes way back, the guardianship one and parenting one goes way back to 1996, I think. And then the other one having to do with maintenance was from 2007. But we're filling the gaps by signaling that Belize is serious about child protection across borders in particular. And really that is what we're doing.
Minister, for me, I'm learning this morning that these conventions actually exist.
Yes,
now, I know last
yes.
week there was discussions in a cabinet release on them, but to me it's interesting that all of this has been thought about by the international community.
Correct.
And there's actually things in place to protect
Yes.
children cross-border, to
Right.
ensure that children has the support they need regardless of where
Right.
the one or the two parents are. To me, that's really good, and it gives me hope in humanity.
Definitely,
And to
definitely.
now hear that
Yeah.
Belize is has signed on to one and is signing on to others.
Two more, yes,
to
in
two
relation
more,
to children.
in
Yes.
relation to children,
yes.
shows exactly the vision and the path we're
Correct.
headed to, and the passion we have for protecting our own children. I don't know that you spoke on the third one in
Not
full.
yet, but I'm
Okay.
getting there.
Go ahead.
But
Just
before, right, before you ask me the next question,
Yes.
I do need to acknowledge Justice Antoinette Moore. She's a passionate advocate for the rights and the protection of children, along with her colleague, Judge Dixon, and our folks at the National Commission for Families and Children. As soon as this was brought to my attention, I said, job number one, let's prepare the cabinet paper, let's get it before the cabinet, and I'm so happy that you could say that the two of them passed with flying colors, because we realize that where there are gaps, we have to fill them.
Yes.
And we have to be serious, because, I mean, if the daddy I want picnic, run away and turn it back on that child, completely turn his back on that child, you can try to reach out and say, look, this child needs to be protected. I remember one time one of my colleagues used to say, if a woman has to go to the family court to recover child maintenance from a deadbeat dad, and it takes a whole long procedure, and finally she might get through, and the magistrate of the family court can say, okay, look, so much a week or so much a month, right? That lady who has been caring for that child all along could take that money and go to the hairdresser if you want. Because I'm not saying that
That's the case.
I'm not saying that you should dress up in the fanciest clothes and then your child isn't going to school. I'm not saying that. But I am saying a child just doesn't tumble up. A child has to be brought up and raised in a proper way. But how do you raise a child? By providing for the most basic needs before you go on to anything else. However, if you have to be finding that money all along, when you get a little bit of change, a little bit, usually it's a little bit of money. I never forget, in my practice in family court back in the days, there was this person who said that he couldn't afford $20 a week to support his child. He said he could not afford $20 a week. Now think about it. Think about it. I mean, we're living in times of inflation. We're living in times of difficulty. I mean, government is trying very hard, but still we saw 3.9% inflation just recently, you know? So let's look at those things and let's commit ourselves that we're not going to let that $20 a week be sufficient to raise a child. It could never be, you know? So I use those little examples to say that we have to be serious. And the work absolutely continues. Now, I know I cut you across.
No,
so
you're good. We're going into the third convention.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, the third one has to do with our elderly population. And like I was jinxing with my colleagues during the week, and I was telling them, well, I embrace the fact that I am in the elderly population because I am over 60, you know? And the Prime Minister said, well, I don't agree with that. I think it should be 75. But we had a good little laugh. But we realized that with our demographic shifts, we're going into a more elderly population. It may be a small percentage now, but by 2040, 2050, it will be a much larger percentage of the population because our birth rate is going down. I mean, my parents had 8 of us.
The average person isn't having 8 anymore.
My parents had 8 of us. Miss Jane, you remember Miss Jane Usher's family? She and her husband, Henry Charles Usher, had 10 children, right? And so but nowadays, I mean, my sister has 2, I have 2, one other sister have 1. So it's the population is, the birth rate is really, really slowing down, you know? Now, why did we look at that OAS, Organization of American States, Inter-American Convention on Older Persons? Why did we look at it and say that this is something we should sign on to? Because, again, we're signaling that these aspects of or these sectors of our population are vulnerable and that we have to signal protection, making sure that we do what is right for our older persons. And so this convention, the Inter-American Convention on Older Persons, was first brought about in the Americas in 2015. So it's a more recent convention. And Don Luis Coimbra, who is the OAS representative here in Belize, encouraged us that we should do it. And hey, it's not rocket science. Let's do it. You know?
What does this convention achieve? Yes.
What it achieves is signaling that Belize is serious about protecting our elderly population. And of course, what would be the next step? It might not happen tomorrow, but the next step would be to pass the law. That we, just like we looked at the disabilities legislation last week and actually passed it, what would happen down the line, or hopefully hopefully sooner rather than later, but what would happen down the line is that we actually pass the law that would signal not only government's commitment, but say, look, this is now law that we as a country need to look at our elderly population. And I want to stick a pin here and say to our Belizean people, so this is a little forum that people watch, you know, and here we are. Let's take care of our elders. Let's mind our elders. You know, it came to my attention that some part of the south side of Belize City, there's this elderly lady, she's about 90 years old, not being cared for properly. Not being cared for properly, you know? And we can't fill up, we don't have the elderly homes, but we can't be having elderly homes and then filling them up with elderly people. Where families are able, where the families have the ability to care for our elders, we must do so. They took care of us when we were coming up. We must take care of them.
I think
when they reach that age. Where sometimes they say, once a man, twice
Once
a
a
child,
child.
once a woman, twice a child.
Yeah.
We have to mind our elders. And by the way, in your generation soon, you might be what you call sandwich, because you're taking care of children, but you're also taking care of elderly. So you're at a meeting at a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, but this is our life. It's the way of the world, that we cannot be filling up elderly homes. We have to mind our seniors, and let's send that message.
I think it's a part of our culture as well, though, especially here in the Caribbean, where it's seen more frequently, and it's also encouraged more frequently for the younger generation to look after their elders. Perhaps in more Western parts of the world, the nursing home or elderly homes are embraced, but here in Belize, we more cling to that Caribbean culture. But what I do want to ask, though, Minister, is signing on to this convention, and of course also supporting this bill for disability, also supporting our elders. Of course, it signals that we are supporting these individuals, but what can we expect in the future where we can really see us putting our money where our mouth is?
Okay.
Can we see elements of where perhaps there are greater repercussions for persons who might not look after elderly individuals or might not look after disability persons with disability? Can we see perhaps more elderly homes being available in the cases where people are not looking after their families? What can we expect?
Well, that's a mouthful of questions. I'm afraid I don't have a mouthful of answers. But here it is. Let me segue then right to the disabilities legislation.
Yes, please.
Okay. What we're basically saying, and I mentioned in the House on Friday, the disabilities legislation is not a magic bullet. It's not as if every single disabled person in the country tomorrow is going to, have this wonderful life and all the protection and all the access to transportation, all the access to buildings. It's not as if that's going to happen tomorrow. But passing the legislation is signaling that through a multi-sectoral approach, we're serious about taking care of persons with disabilities. And guess what? It dovetails nicely with signaling that we're taking care of our senior citizens as well. Because, for example, and I'm so happy that on Friday we had our special envoy, Mrs. Rosanna Briceño, with us, and right there in the National Assembly while we did the second and third readings. Once you get to your third reading, you've basically passed the legislation. So we're very, very happy that she was there with us, the folks from Stella Maris. Madam Speaker, Valerie Wood said that it was a historic day because on that day we had not one, not two, 3 sign language interpreters. So our deaf population could know what was going on at every step of the way.
Indeed.
That's historic.
That's huge.
And I think that is walking the walk in terms of signaling that we are supporting our persons with whatever form of disability.
Absolutely.
So in the legislation on disability, for example, and I hope this building will have it, you have elevator and ramp, not true?
You got to work on it.
You're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. Just as the bill is getting there, we're getting there.
Well, you better get there.
Tell me.
No, because...
What does the bill say about things like that?
You have a year in which to do it. So if you don't have your elevator and your ramp and thing, you have a year in which to put it in place. And we're serious.
Is it and or?
What you mean?
Do we have to have an elevator and a ramp?
No.
Or can we have an elevator or a ramp?
Access. It's about access.
It's about access.
Yeah.
And like I said then, we know they asked the Panades shop for having an elevator. That's ridiculous. But a building like this, this is what, 3-story? 4-story, 3-story?
This is three. Yeah, three floors.
This is 3 floors. So if you need to get somebody in a wheelchair up here, if you haven't done it already, you better start working on it.
I like that you use us as an
yes,
example
yes,
because
absolutely.
But we're not the only ones.
No.
Not but. The word not is but. The word is and.
No
we're not
pressure.
the only. No, it's
No
and. We're not the
pressure,
only
no
one.
pressure.
You have
No pressure, but you have a here.
You have a lot
No
of
pressure,
private.
but
pressure.
You have a lot of private businesses
Yes,
as well that has 3 to
yes.
4 floors. I know some has their elevators.
Right.
And what are we looking at when it comes to government buildings as well?
Same. Large buildings, large employers, definitely the move towards making sure that we have that accessibility. Public transportation, for example, you know. And what is good about the disability legislation is that it's multi-sectoral and that there is not only a commission but also a tribunal. So if a person has a complaint about not having access or not being able to get the health services that they need.
They can lodge a complaint.
They can lodge a complaint. They can absolutely lodge a complaint. And that's why I say we have to get serious about it.
Yeah.
And because the law is now there, we will be able to say, okay, if you fall down, this is the solution. And somebody would be able to make a complaint that I don't have the access to education because I am disabled, that maybe somebody else has. I know one of the schools that is accepting the special needs children and really working with them is Horizon Academy. Just to mention, you know. And then of course we've had Stella Maris for many, many years, since 1958.
You're way ahead, you imagine.
No, man, right. But Stella Maris was the first job of our special envoy, Mrs. Briceño. And I had never paid it much attention as to why they called it Stella Maris, but it's named for Our Lady Star of the Sea. Stella Maris, Latin, for Star of the Sea. And the Star of the Sea is usually Our Lady who looks after us when we guides us in difficult times. Just like how we have Our Lady of Guadalupe to protect us against storms and hurricanes, and we better pray to her this week for true.
Minister,
we better pray to her this week for true.
We'll have to take a segment for sure.
Yes, we'll have to take a segment.
To speak specifically
Sure.
on the disabilities bill, because I think there's a
Definitely.
lot to
There's
be
a lot in there.
conversation to be
There's
had
a lot
there.
in there.
I want to jump over to the
Sexual harassment?
sexual harassment
Yes, indeed.
bill and talk a
We
bit
can
about
only,
what's
you know,
happening
you
there.
realize we're only
Yeah,
skimming
but
over the
what's
surface.
happening here is we're
Yes.
giving people important information
Right.
about the makeup of these conventions and
yes.
these bills, so that we get a
Right.
clear understanding of where we're headed.
Of course. Well, first of all, the new anti-sexual harassment legislation replaces the old one from back in the 90s. And we've outgrown that one. For instance, there's cyberbullying. You were just talking about that this morning. And the cyberbullying could actually dovetail very nicely with the new anti-sexual harassment bill, because it includes social media. You know, if you are sending an unwelcome message or image to somebody that is totally out of order and out of line, that is considered sexual harassment, you see? But the interesting part about this new legislation, not only is it including the modern day social media and all of that, but it is also saying that we would like to take a novel approach to like at what you would call an alternative dispute resolution approach to sexual harassment. For example, let's take government. Government is, you could say, the largest employer, you know? If an employee of government has sexually harassed someone, and there is good evidence of that, if the employer, meaning the government of Belize, so it would be the supervisor, the CEO, whoever, if they become aware of a sexual harassment taking place, if they are fully aware of it and do nothing about it, they can also be held liable.
Wow.
You see? So we're serious. We're very serious.
So essentially, if someone sexually harasses me and their institution that they represent, the institution that they represent does not hold them accountable, I can also target the institution as well.
Definitely. No. Institution that that would include Channel 5.
Stop use me as example, Minister.
Stop use me as example. Great, that's why you think they call it Great Belize Production. It's great. No, but seriously, what is also in the legislation is that institutions have to have an anti-sexual harassment policy. And there's a template right into legislation as to what that policy can look like. And so please, start to work on a policy.
I think we have one already.
Good. Well, very good.
Yeah,
very
I
good.
think we do.
Yes, you do. And have your policy in writing. Let it be known to all employees. And let me tell you something, guys. Sexual harassment is very real,
It is.
It's very real. Mostly it's women who suffer, but it is also the law. The act is saying that it is gender neutral, but it's very real. Many, many women suffer in silence. Many, many women suffer in silence, and that has to stop.
I think it will be
It's unacceptable, and our country, by passing this new law, is saying that we're taking it seriously, and let's come forward and do what we have to do in terms of stamping it out.
I think it will be interesting to see how it pairs with cyberbullying and cyber crimes, because
that
is perhaps one of the most prominent forms of crimes that take place.
It strengthens the cyberbullying legislation by saying that, look, we have this backup coming here as well. And we can back it up by looking at the provisions of the new legislation and making it work. Making it work.
You say that it's social media is perhaps one of the prominent platforms, but I would also argue that just walking the streets is and being sexually harassed is just as prominent of a situation as social media is.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I would have been leaving out something. So it's not just alternative dispute resolution within an institution, but if you are catcalled on the street, if that occurs, there is also recourse straight to a criminal complaint. You can go straight to a criminal complaint. You can make a report to the police, and then it would go to the court. And where you have the alternative dispute resolution mechanism, if there is any difficulty there is recourse to the High Court as well. So you have a sort of a parallel scheme that you can work along with. But again, ladies and gentlemen, Belizean public, Channel 5, everybody, let's signal that these things are unacceptable, and that as a country, we're willing to take the steps to do whatever we can to reduce it and to stamp it out completely.
Minister, we are wholly out of time. We've had a very lengthy conversation on 5 different topics this morning.
At all.
When I think about the topics we've talked about,
we just gone over the...
Skim over them, basically. But as we wrap up, I'd like for you to state if you have any advice for your constituents or Belizeans at large as we think about, or as we prepare to brace for potential impact where Hurricane Beryl is concerned.
Beryl.
Right now, Beryl with the L.
Beryl with a Y.
With a Y.
I was an English teacher,
Okay, good. So Hurricane Beryl.
No, but let's get serious. Yes. Not everybody is Christian or Roman Catholic. But it's time to invoke and to pray to Our Lady of Guadalupe for protection against storms if you are of that faith. But non-faith people, let's prepare. And everybody, let's prepare. Let's be very much aware, calling on the people who sell plywood, for example, not to do price gouging. And the Office of the Prime Minister has signaled that that is not going to be tolerated, and there will be consequences if you start the price gouging. And make sure you have your plan. Have your little canned foods, have extra water, know what shelter you're going to go to in the event of a storm coming directly towards us. We're hoping that it goes further north and not the country of Belize, but especially northern Belize in terms of the projected track right now. We all must be prepared, and then things can change, Are you aware that back in 1961, apparently Hurricane Hattie was going up so, as we would say, it was going up so, and it turned around and came back down so, and we didn't have the level of preparation and forecasts that we have now. We have forecasts and weather people from the United States, from Europe. We have weather patterns. We have our own Met Bureau who are doing an excellent job. And you know, let's thank them for keeping the nation informed. But as a people, let's prepare. Yeah. Because I mean, this is, you know, again, I always think of my parents, the ancestors in Garifuna. You say the Ahari, the ancestors. My parents used to say, in terms of the hurricane season, my parents used to say, June too soon. Well, now June not too soon. No. July, stand by. August, if you must. Remember September. October, not over. November, still not over. Right? Something to that effect. But wow. No, I mean, our country has grown up with the knowledge and the experience of hurricanes, and so we should know what is coming. I mean, they're not like an earthquake, we don't know. Yeah. They're not like wildfires, they're not like tornadoes. We have the notice, and we can prepare, and let's take care of our Belizean, especially children and elderly, wonderful. Since we were talking about them today.
Yes, yes.
All right, yeah. Well, Minister, this has been a fabulous conversation. We want to say thank you so much for stopping by. As you mentioned, we were only able to skim over these topics, but
yes.
Of course, that is because of the time that we were given.
Time constraint.
We do hope that we are able to further have a conversation with you, even if it's in our newscast, to just provide a general overview of these particular conventions.
No trouble, anytime. Call me anytime.
Yes, thank you.
I only will charge you 5 cents.
All right, well, thanks so much, and we wish you all the best.
Have a lovely day and a good week and a preparing week. Indeed. You know, yes, okay. Yes. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into a tribute to Miss Jenny.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
Summer is almost here, and we're gearing up for the exciting time of the year where kids from all over the country come together and showcase their talent on one stage. The Open Your Eyes stage. Yes, that's right. Summerfest is back.
Join us on Friday, July 5th at the Memorial Park in Belize City at 6:30 a.m. It will be a fun-filled morning with lots of prizes and surprises. Come see talented kids from all over the country perform on stage. See you at Summerfest 2024.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize!
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't let this plan. I can't let this plan.
This is going to be probably one of the harder segments for us to cover, Paul. Of course, it's a tribute to Miss Jenny. It's a segment dedicated to remembering her and her contributions. You mentioned her as a friend, her as a mother. But for a lot of the viewers, we knew her as this amazing judge who has been with us for the entire legacy of KTV, the remix. Of course, even before that, when it was just karaoke. But this is, of course, an opportunity for us to remember Miss Jenny. Of course, she had an untimely death that took us all by surprise last week. And we would even be having our first episode of our live show for KTV tomorrow, which we would have been expecting her appearance. But this season, season 6 and year 2024, we will sadly be missing her presence.
We're asking that for tomorrow night's show, it's a live show, for people to wear
pink
or
purple or both.
Those were two of her favorite colors. At least I know the pink part.
Yeah, same. She actually had a fuchsia pickup, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think fuchsia is probably like a merge between pink and purple, if you know what that color is.
I know the Bliss has limited seats as any other venue would have, because, and I say that because I know for a fact that a lot of people want to be there tomorrow night to honor Miss Jenny, and so this is a good time to remind you that you could get tickets here at Channel 5 and at 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. And perhaps it's best to get them early if you want to be a part of tomorrow night's tribute for Jenny. We're pink, we're purple, and you're welcome to bring your wreath, bring a little token, roses,
flowers,
a little token of appreciation that we could all be together as one family, one KTV family inside the Bliss, and honor Jenny as she rightly deserves. It's not going to be the same. KTV will not be the same. I know a lot of people are saying that, and I, for one, agree. I mean, imagine somebody performs, does an amazing job, and there's no Jenny there to say, I love it, I love it, I love it,
love it, love it.
Right? That's what she was known for. She became branded the I love it, love it,
and
love it.
And it tied in so
lady.
perfectly with her surname as well, the Lovell last name.
Really, when I wrote a story of her on Friday, and it really dawned on me the similarities between her name and the life she lived.
Yes.
Because Miss Jenny lived a life of love. I grew up watching Miss Jenny on KTV. For me, she was this huge figure, in fact, a superstar. When I thought of Jenny, in somewhat same fashion, I would think of William Neal, but Jenny, way longer staple on KTV and Channel 5's Tuesday night segment. I was like, oh, Miss Jenny. I grew up watching her.
Yeah.
And so when I joined Channel 5, I think it was my first year, I volunteered to work behind the scenes for KTV. And I would see Jenny on a weekly basis. And for me, it was
a totally different experience?
No, it was still that I still had that childhood admiration for this lady. Like, should I approach? Should I come close? Or should I just keep my distance and let her be the superstar she is? Because a lot of people were demanding her attention. Jenny. And I remember one time, because honestly, I haven't had a lot of interactions with Jenny, and perhaps it's because I was so starstruck anytime she came around. But I remember this one time, she was about to sit down for the start of the show. You know where the judges sit down? And they usually sit down in high benches or high seats like this. And she needed help with getting up on the chair just for somebody to hold it, right? And she looked to her left and she didn't see anybody. And she looked to her right and my eyes immediately made contact with hers. And because I was standing nearby, and she was like, young man, can you come and help me with my chair? And I was already making my way over because I saw that she needed help, and so I held her chair for her. And that might not sound like a lot to many, but I held her chair for her.
First point of
Real
contact
interaction with her. And for me, it meant a lot to hold her chair for her so she could sit down in that seat. And you know how important that seat is, Sabrina, because that's the seat from which she says, I love it, or that's the seat from which she says, diaphragm. From your diaphragm, or control your breathing, right? That's the seat. And so for me, it was an honor to have that interaction, and I will always remember it. Apart from the times when she would be around Channel 5 and she would be smiling, asking you how you're doing, and ensure that everything is well with you. So for me, that's my KTV experience with
What
Jenny.
I think is worthy of mentioning, and I'm really glad that, Paul, your story encapsulated Miss Jenny's contribution, not only on the music scene, which, you know, a lot of people would have been introduced to her in this area as a musician, as a judge for a well-known singing competition, but Miss Jenny contributed in many other ways, and we had Minister Dolores Garcia talking about that. She was a mental health practitioner. She was the first director of the
Human Services, as well as
the Behavior Modification,
Community Rehabilitation
Department. So we can see that her contribution as a Belizean really spread across in many other areas aside from music, aside from the arts. And that was, for me, something that I think was really important for us to mention. That aside, though, my introduction to Miss Jenny was also through the arts. Of course, I saw her just like you did, Paul, on TV as a young kid. But I met her for the first time And I saw her, you know, on the actual show nights and whatnot. But I met her for the first time, I believe it was a year ago or 2 years ago, when I covered a story on Frankie Reno, the composer here in Belize, well-known composer. And I was telling his story as a musician as well. And I think I took for granted a moment, and I didn't realize perhaps the contribution that Miss Jenny actually had and the magnitude of that contribution. As a young kid, we listened to the radio a lot, especially if you're from the rural areas, you know, got too much cable and anything there. And music like the one that's playing right now, you would hear often on the radio. And it almost becomes ingrained in your mind. You end up singing it. You have no idea who it is because you're too young to probably recognize the artist. But I remember hearing these songs on the radio. And it wasn't until I did that story with Frankie Reno that I was able to recognize and identify the name of this piece of music, which would be now known as Mass and Blues, right there on the screen. And if you look at those women in that crowd there, a lot of people would not know that Miss Jenny was actually right there on the far left.
Well, tell me which was
on the
Jenny?
far
the
left.
Far left.
Yeah, the last one there on the left.
Yeah.
So there's a popular song that we would hear frequently on the radio. The one that's being played right now. Help me accept the things that I cannot change. And I did not know the origin of this story, this song, until after meeting Frankie Reno.
That was me on Friday.
So and I'm gonna give you guys the full story because I had a whole interaction with you guys, you included, Paul. But I remember learning the story of Frankie Reno and understanding that he wrote this piece of music when he was about 16 years old. And he would have also been friends with Miss Jenny when she was around the same age. And he saw this talent in her as such a beautiful singer. And he sourced and asked for her to sing this song, which she would have been the lead singer for. Now, this song also has a really deep history behind it because it tells the story of Frankie Reno grieving the loss of his music teacher, also having an untimely death. So this was his process of saying, you know, I need to accept the things that I cannot change. And now, all these decades later, we're listening to this song in the same way that perhaps Frankie was grieving his music teacher, losing Jenny Lovell, of course, in an untimely manner, and trying to accept the things we can't change. It's almost spiritual, the way that this really turned around. So when I heard that Miss Jenny passed away on Friday, all I wanted to do was hear this song, Paul. And it gave me goosebumps because I feel like my coworkers were not able to connect with me in that way.
Because we were still processing the news.
But for me, all I was thinking was, my God, help me accept what I can't change. This is literally Jenny saying this to all of us at this point. And it gives me goosebumps to this point still. I think, I'm hoping because of this now we're able to have the younger generation that know Jenny for KTV be able to bridge this gap and understand the level of contribution that Jenny made in music. This piece of music that we're hearing here has been from we were kids, Paul.
Well, before we were kids. Jenny was a kid, if you want to describe it as that. So I was nowhere in existence or even thoughts of existence at this point.
I'm hoping that 16-year-olds now or even younger will be able to recognize the legacy that she has.
I've had this song on repeat this weekend, and I feel like a part of me is jealous of this generation and the level of talent and professional skills that they got to experience through the singers and Mass and Blues here.
Not only that, Paul, but a lot of people who probably watch KTV now, or at least around the time when Miss Jenny was there, they probably didn't realize why she's in that seat in the first place. You know, on the final night, we would see these judges perform on the stage, and people are really critical of their performances. Of course, Miss Jenny would have been the oldest judge in the seat there, but I think this really puts into perspective now the level of respect that musicians give Miss Jenny and the reason why she has been seated in that chair for so long.
I described it over the weekend as Belize losing its very own Michael Jackson.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
In terms of celebrity status for Belize, and in terms of skill, and in terms of impact, and in terms of influence, this is what we had. Just taking a quick look back though at her mental health, mental psychiatry career. On Friday when I was doing the story of Miss Jenny, I really got an opportunity to take a deep dive into who she was as a mental physicist, psychiatrist, sorry, and really get a true sense of appreciation for the impact that Miss Jenny has made in Belize where mental health is concerned. She was a host of a long-standing show, on the morning show called Broke It Down with Jenny. And in Broke It Down with Jenny, people had their eyes and ears glued to the TV because Miss Jenny brought it real, Miss Jenny brought it raw, but like her last name says, Miss Jenny brought it with love.
Yeah. And I think it was so important at that time for us to also be having conversations around mental health. You would know that that's more of a regular term being used. We talk more regularly now about mental health challenges, but Miss Jenny was leading the charge in that many years before. Of course, with well-known talk show host John and now our CEO Marlene Cuellar. She offered an opportunity for persons to embrace conversations around mental health, but in a softer manner, without the stigma. But I think it's also important. Yes, you were about to say.
No, I was just going to bring your attention to the colors.
Oh yes, of course.
And how bright they are, as bright as her smile.
And that's why we need to be wearing pink or purple tomorrow. But Paul, I want to, in the same breath of mental health and the stigma that's surrounded with it, I want to also acknowledge and recognize that while she was such a great advocate for mental health and the challenges people face, she was also heavily targeted by people on social media, and that was perhaps the most sad part of Miss Jenny's journey through her role as a celebrity status, if you want to call that.
You Sabrina, you say sad, right? But
I don't think it was sad.
And I agree with you to one extent, because I don't think that it impacted Miss Jenny as much as some people would want to suggest. I've heard from, for example, Miss Giselle, who was heavily involved in KTV, who has been heavily involved in KTV over the last 2 years. Miss Giselle shared a tribute on social media of Miss Jenny, and she said that Miss Jenny would remind her that, you know what, none of them memes there bother me. In fact,
it probably bothered us more then.
In fact, according to Giselle, who's had interactions with Miss Jenny, she and Miss Jenny would laugh over some of the memes. Like she would show her some, and they would laugh over some of the memes. Now Giselle said that she wouldn't expose some of the meaner ones, but I'm just saying it speaks to the characteristic or the personality of this lady, the way she viewed life, much bigger than the criticisms. She saw the positive in all situations and all circumstances, and she, according to certain accounts, like even William, we spoke to William on Friday, and William told us that Jenny lived a life that said you have to love people through it all, through whatever circumstances or situations. And even William vouched for the fact that Miss Jenny did not allow, according to his conversations with her, these mean memes, by the way, to get under her skin
or reactions to her
or to affect her greatly, right?
I hear you, P, but I think regardless of the fact that Miss Jenny may have not verbalized if these things affected her, it still does not make it right.
Of course.
I know that you know that, but I want to use this opportunity to remind our viewers, because we literally saw a matter of days where we would have seen her on the audition shows on Tuesday, and of course persons targeting her in many ways, her appearance and her reactions to certain things, making fun of her online. and in just a matter of 3 days, mourning her loss. I think it's so important for us to recognize that really and truly you're here today and you're gone tomorrow, as the minister Dolores Balderramos mentioned. So it's high time that we just simply lead with love, as Miss Jenny would do. Lead with kindness, lead with respect. And I'm hoping that experiencing this, we don't have to experience another for us to recognize that we should be having respect for one another.
Yeah, and again, I wanted to just speak to the fact of her, again, this personality that she had, and even as a mental health professional, acknowledging the fact that she was one of the lead advisors and guides over there at UA. Jenny has impacted the careers of many Belizeans in the mental health sector, mental health professionals. She has been one of the lead advisors, and I think a lot of people know that fact about Miss Jenny. We also spoke on Friday to a close friend of hers, CEO in the Ministry of Human Development, same Minister Dolores' ministry, Miss Adele Katsim. And Miss Adele Katsim, she's close friends with Jenny, and she revealed a part of Jenny that I've never heard. It's the fact that as public as Miss Jenny was, you know, she's this huge public figure, there's a lot of her life that was private. And she was also this private individual, and she had a small circle. And within that small circle, she shared openly in a manner and that you wouldn't see her, a light that you wouldn't see her in public. And so she appreciated privacy. Miss Jenny appreciated friends and having close and intimate bonds with people. And for me, that's an amazing example. Somebody that's so public, yet appreciate this private. And we also know that Miss Jenny was a mother. And one of the things Miss Katsim revealed to me is the fact that Miss Jenny was so proud of her son. Like every time they meet and every time they have conversations, Miss Jenny would say, man, my son did this, my son accomplished this, and she would always be ready to pick up her son and praise her son's accomplishments. And so we lost a mother, we lost a dear friend, we lost an amazing individual, an amazing musician, a KTV judge, a pioneer, if you want to, at least a leader, a leading voice in mental health in Belize. It's such a great loss. I posted on Facebook on Friday, the Jenny Lovell Center for Performing Arts. Now, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes here, and I'm not trying to replace the Bliss. I know that there's arrangements there, but it's just for me in the moment, it was the magnitude of her influence after learning all of this in one day and understanding that she deserves this level of recognition, if not more. Let's build something in Damapan.
Absolutely.
That's her home. Let's do something there to really acknowledge and honor the impact that our dearly beloved Miss Jenny made on all of us, those who've come in contact with her, and even the persons we've heard that say, I never meet Miss Jenny, but she changed my life.
Yeah.
You imagine that? I could only dream. I could only desire having that level of impact in my lifetime. And what a great example to have someone that has gone before me, like Miss Jenny. Love it.
Lovell. Well, if you have been impacted by Miss Jenny, Lovell, and you're planning to attend the KTV The Remix first show tomorrow night, definitely show up in pink or purple or both. Bring along a flower or a rose, and just be prepared to share in her legacy, to pay tribute to her. We want to announce that we will be having some guest performances in honor of Miss Jenny with persons like Chanel Parks, Rajani Perriott, Haziel, Lisa, and more. Of course, they will be doing a tribute. So please come on out and remember Miss Jenny, remember her for all the positive contributions, and celebrate her life here with us. At the end of the day, I know that that's how she would want to be remembered, for all the great things that she has done.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Well, as we wrap up this segment, we got to take another quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into the Belize projects. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
No muscle bound man can take the place of my God. My God. No handsome face could ever take the place of my God. He may not be a movie star, but when it comes to being happy, we are who could take me away from my God. What'd you say? There's not a man today who can take me away from my God. Tell me more. There's not a man today who can take me away from my God. What's that? A man today who can take me away from my God.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize!
Hey there, smart thinkers! We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
Belize's favorite Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 6. On Tuesday, July 2nd at 8 p.m., we go live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets for the live show are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive and at the 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard for only $5. Come out to win fabulous prizes and a chance to compete in our KTV challenges. Catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube. KTV The Remix Season 6 is going to be exciting, fun, and only on 5.
Upcoming enhancements to My Social Security. The new healthcare provider feature seamlessly connects healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers to facilitate the payment of sickness benefits. Here are the enhancements. Registered healthcare providers will create and submit online medical certificates using their healthcare provider accounts. Insured persons will receive a link to view the medical certificate to complete and submit their sickness benefit claim. And employers will receive an email notification of their employee's sickness claim. Also, the insured person and their employer will receive a copy of the claim decision letter after review. Healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers are encouraged to create a portal account to access and benefit from these new services on My Social Security at ssbportal.org.bz. My Social Security online portal. Social Security at your fingertips.
My name is Waluko Mejia. I'm the General Manager at Copal Tree Lodge here in Toledo, Belize. The Belize Bank service we appreciate most is the Belize Bank ATM and the use of its debit card. It makes it very accessible for our employees here at Copal Tree Lodge. Essentially, they could access the ATM on their way home after work, and also that the local stores accept the use of a debit card.
Welcome back, guys. We're having our final conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about the Belize project. We are joined this morning by two gentlemen to talk to us about it. And here with us is Mr. Andrew August, and he is the National Director of Restore Ministries Belize. And here with him is Kenroy Young, and he is the Youth Director for the Belize project. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Pleasant good morning.
So the Belize project, for people who may not know what this movement or initiative is, let's get an overview of that.
All right, so the Belize project is an NGO that started in 2008, but before that, they had a group of missionaries from the United States that came to Belize. I think it's in 2005. They saw the work that Mr. Ishmael Vallejos was doing in the Corozal area. I don't know if you guys know, but there is a rehabilitation center there,
We've
Jacob's
had them
Farm.
on.
Yes, we've actually
Yes.
covered that story before.
So just so imagine these group of missionaries came, saw the work that he was doing, saw the benefit of it, you know, trying to rehabilitate men and women, you know, who are going through addiction. And they said, you know what, we want to start something. You know, we want to be part of this. And I'm pretty sure that there are other ministries that need our financial support. So they registered the Belize project, and under that we have several ministries. We have Jacob's Farm, we have Restore Ministries, we have the House of Dorcas that deals with, you know, battered women and abuse, and then we have the micro entrepreneurship. Right, so that deals with just small businesses that needs, you know, financial help to get off the ground.
So essentially the Belize project is sort of like an umbrella
It's
that
an umbrella.
covers all of these other
Yes.
organizations or projects that are taking place under
Yes.
this actual organization.
So that's the umbrella these ministries fall under, and anything that deals with rehabilitation, reintegration, education, and entrepreneurship, other ministries are qualified to go underneath that umbrella. So we have these 5 existing ministries right now, but they're trying to invite more. So we're here to talk about that the Belize project is here.
Yeah.
They want to take you on their wings, help support so that we can spread this movement.
Why the focus of rehabilitation?
For example, Restore Ministries, it deals with finding yourself. A lot of people get lost, right? You know, addiction is, there's a lot of things that comes under addiction. There's a lot of factors that involve. You just don't wake up and become an alcoholic, you know, or become a drug user, etc. So they're just focusing on, you know what, trying to instill hope back into people. You know, we should be a society of hopeful people. A society with hopeless people, it's a messed up society.
So
It would be very chaotic.
What's your story and how did you join?
So I came across this at the rehabilitation center myself. As a recovering alcoholic, I met the program. You know, I was there. They talked about this journey to freedom. And when they start sharing the material, I was like, you know what, this makes sense. You know, it gives you a sense of, you know what, you're okay. You can come back from this. It helps you pinpoint the broken areas of your life where you can fix. That's the hardest thing, you know, identifying what's really bothering you, because everything has a root cause, right? It's not on the surface. You will think that, you know what, because of this, no, it's deep down. It
And
just
being honest enough with yourself
being
to
acknowledgement, you know what I mean? Acknowledging that you have a problem and just doing a self-reflection.
Now, let me bring Mr. Young into the conversation. Tell us a bit about your involvement and how this all came to be.
I have been quiet.
Yes, until now.
Well, to see it forward, I am the vision and the mission of what the Belize project is all about.
Okay.
The vision is loving people through Jesus Christ and bringing them back into healing and hope and restoration. And my life comes in contact with the Belize project through me being in prison. I spent 11 years in prison, and while I was in prison, I wasn't happy at first, and I wanted to get out of the cell. So in doing so at the time, I was like, I wanted a job, I need to be outside. So the superintendent at the time, Mr. Hira Ahmad, she told me, you would have to do program. I said, but I have education. She says, that doesn't play a role in the prison. We're here to rehabilitate. So when you are reintegrated into society, you're balanced and you're focused. So I went into the programs, and 5 years after being in prison, came along a program called Journey to Freedom, being offered by Restore Ministries, and I took the program as a intern, then became a facilitator, then became a senior facilitator, then worked my way up to become the coordinator, an inmate coordinator for the program in the prison under Mr. Peter King, who is another inmate at the prison. And we were working with Mr. Willacy, Mr. Norman Willacy, who is a board member of the Belize project. He was the civilian coordinator and director for the program within the prison, and that program took me off and blew me away, and I was like, you know, I literally broke down in my cell after reading the first chapter of the book, Journey to Freedom. And from the day I held that book to now, I've had struggles each day coming out of prison. It hasn't been easy, but I've made mistakes and I've learned to correct them, and I keep focused on one thing, that every morning that I get up, what I do, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for God, and by doing it for God, He's using me to do it for others. So I became a product of what the Belize project stands for.
And you've also decided to continue working with the project outside of prison.
Yes, I reached out to the global director in the United States, who was my facilitator in prison, who brought the program to me, Miss Beryl, and she offered me the opportunity to come back into the program out on the outside, and I started as a facilitator, and then I became a senior facilitator, and then I became the program coordinator for youths in Belize City. And today,
Your youth
July
director?
1st, July 1st, I'm now the youth director.
Wow, as of today.
Yes.
Wow,
effective
congratulations.
today.
Oh, it's effective today?
Yes.
Ooh, congratulations to you guys.
I am the new youth director under the project, and I just like helping young people because I have made a lot of mistakes, and when I look at them, I don't see them through the eyes of what everyone wants to see them through. I've been where they've been. I've felt what they've felt. I've walked in what they've walked through, and I can relate to some of their situations. And I'm very empathetic to what young people go through and the challenges they face today culturally in our society, because I am with them every day, every week. I facilitate in the high schools with them, and I try to encourage them to focus and be on the right side.
Now, let me just bring it back to you, Mr. August, because all of this takes a whole lot of resources and supports that's needed, and I know you all have to plan and prepare your own initiatives to ensure that this program is sustainable and it continues to impact lives. Let's talk a bit about what we have planned coming up where fundraising and support is concerned.
All right, so it does take resources. We're planning a Hope Gala. It's an annual thing. I'll have Ken Roy talk about that because he's actually the coordinator for the Hope Gala. But before we go to that, I just want to say that the program, especially Restore Ministries, it's all about redemption. You know what I mean? It's allowing people to understand that, you know, you made a mistake. You are not the mistake. You know what I mean? Because being there with low self-confidence will have you just spiral more out of control. We have a couple series of the book that I just brought, you know, to show you. It's actually I'm missing 2 books. right? But it's a 6-series book that the author came up with: Journey to Freedom, Journey to a Life of Courage, to a New Beginning After a Loss, and of Significance. And it all talks about self-esteem. It all talks about redemption, how you can move on and not stay stuck. Because God designed us to unlock our full potential, but there are a lot of things that cause us, traumas, our past experiences, cause us to develop a dysfunctional response, and then we get stuck in that toxic cycle. So it's really good. We're trying to reach as much schools as possible, as much youth. We're also in the prison.
Yes.
Right. So we make the program itself is in the prison, under Mr. Willis. So
good.
It makes a lot of difference.
So let's get to the gala, my brother. Tell us, what do we have planned?
All right. Good morning again, Belize. I wear a lot of hats.
Yes. You do.
Clearly.
I am also the public relations and marketing personnel for the Hope Gala Executive Committee under the Belize Project. And this year in October, on the 19th, we will be having our grand gala fundraiser. This is where our finances come into play for our programs and the initiatives that we are involved in, and all the different ministries we support in Belize. The Hope Gala is our annual fundraiser, and this year the colors of the gala are royal purple and gold. And the colors were significantly selected by the global director, Miss Beryl, signifying Christ and redemption. The gold signifies Jesus Christ, the gifts that he has given unto us, the blessings that we have, and the purple represents redemption, healing, and love. So we are asking the Belizean people to come out and support our gala. It's the grand fundraising initiatives for our ministries, and we do have our tickets on sale.
Already on sale.
We already have our gala tickets on sale. They are $75 each. We're also seeking sponsors for the gala. As you can see on our flyer on the screen, at the bottom we have our sponsor selection. So here at Channel 5, we can have Paul and his staff here at Channel 5 and Sabrina Open Your Eyes become gold sponsors to the Hope Gala. And being a gold sponsor, you get 10 tickets, 10 complimentary tickets, a large print on all the promotional materials for the gala, and you will also get your name mentioned on the night of the gala, and you will receive an appreciation award from the gala and from everyone under the Belize Project who has been supported, who has been rectified, who has been healed and touched by what the program does. We have silver sponsors. You will receive 6 Hope Gala tickets, a medium print on the promotional materials, and your name mentioned on the night of the event. And you can also be a bronze sponsor. You will receive 4 complimentary Hope Gala tickets, a small print on all the promotional materials. So we are seeking sponsors. We're asking all our corporate companies, all our NGOs, all our small businesses, medium businesses, everyone to put in a hand, because the initiatives and the work of the Belize Project is helping the lives of many Belizean people. Many people ask me when they see me, I come to them and say, Kenroy, where is the Belize Project? Where did you say you're working again? He said, well, where is your office? I told him in Pachacan Village in Corozal.
We went there. We went there. It's actually a very nice facility. I was telling, I believe I mentioned it just now. I think we covered that story about a year ago, and we were able to meet some of the men who were there at the facility at the time. What I think is important to mention is that while, of course, there is a cost associated with being there because you do live there, they did mention that they don't turn away anyone that would go there. And I think that's so worthy of mentioning, because you have people who are really rehabilitated there for free, and some who may not even be able to go back home because of the extent of their addiction.
Yeah.
And that's so excellent. I
Yeah.
have to commend you guys for that.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, the gala, as you said, is scheduled for October 19th.
Yes. 19th.
Tickets are $75. They're already on sale. You
Yes,
could
sir.
also become sponsors, platinum, well, gold, silver,
and bronze.
Well,
Well, you can create the platinum
right,
for you.
$10,000. I know decided to give that, but yes. So you can get the tickets. Where can you get tickets at this point in time? And even if you don't get it yet, I think if you save $5 or $10 a week by October 19th, you have enough money to buy a ticket. But where can you get tickets right now?
Well, tickets are available from members of the Hope Gala Committee, and also, as you can see on the flyer, we have a number provided there, 636-8147, or you can contact the office email, thebelizeproject2@gmail.com, and these are the mediums through which you can purchase your tickets, because we have created a ticketing system that allows you to pay in advance, and your sale is recorded in a system. So on the night of the gala, your ticket number is matched in the system, and you enter into the event.
Wonderful. Final thoughts, gentlemen?
And like Sabrina mentioned, this fundraising is very important for us because, like you mentioned, we want to help as much people as possible. We don't turn anyone away. You know, so at the rehabilitation center, if they can't afford it, we still accommodate them. The youths, the facilitators to go for travel allowance to make sure that we're in all schools in the south side. It's really, really important to us. So it will go to a good cause. It will be a wonderful night. You know, most importantly, you'll have testimonies from people that went through the program that were impacted by this. Right? So it's very important to us.
Yes, yes.
And it's being held at the Biltmore.
Biltmore.
Yes.
The best hotel in all of Belize.
We are paying for that. We are charging for that.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by. It's a pleasure. And of course, we have to commend you for the work that you continuously do. All the best.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having us.
All right, we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we wrap things up.
My name is Leomar Langsert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Man, this weather will hold me back again. I really need our car.
Hey James, you look for a car?
Hey, Bri, yeah. Things would be so much easier if I had a car, but then I'd have to take out a loan, and I'm not sure if that's the right move, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes to achieve our goals, we need financial assistance. But it doesn't have to be scary. We can make informed choices.
What are your financial goals? A loan could help turn these aspirations into reality. But before you make that commitment, take a close look at your budget and carefully assess your income and expenses. Learn about the various types of loans and the potential impact on your financial future. Meet with someone who can guide you through the loan process, helping you understand the terms, interest rates, and repayment period. Finally, read the fine print. Make sure you are comfortable with the terms and conditions. The decision to take out a loan should be a well-informed one. Remember, knowledge is your greatest ally. Take your time, do your research, and make a choice that aligns with your aspirations and financial well-being.
Make informed choices.
A message from the Central Bank of Belize. Visit us at centralbank.org.bz. The Central Bank of Belize. People-focused, purpose-driven.
Summer is almost here, and we're gearing up for the exciting time of the year where kids from all over the country come together and showcase their talent on one stage. The Open Your Eyes stage. Yes, that's right. Summerfest is back.
Join us on Friday, July 5th at the Memorial Park in Belize City at 6:30 a.m. It will be a fun-filled morning with lots of prizes and surprises. Come see talented kids from all over the country perform on stage. See you at Summerfest 2024.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
All right, welcome back, guys. We want to say, of course, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Also, thank you to our guests who stopped by. This was a very special show this morning, Paul. And it's also July 1st. So if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. Guys, I think there's a running joke as well. I always get the dates wrong. But if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. I know that yesterday was our producer's birthday. Of course, we weren't able to give her a birthday shout out on Friday. So happy belated birthday, Vianney Reyes. Vianney Reyes from your Channel 5 family. Of course, for anyone else who is celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you as well. And if you'd like to give a birthday shout out, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us on Facebook.
Of course, you can catch us on Facebook every single morning, right there on our Facebook page at Open Your Eyes, BZ.
As well as Instagram for behind-the-scenes contents, like our reels that we make at OIE Belize. So thank you so much for joining us, and please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow, as well as join us for KTV The Remix, Episode 1, the live shows on Open Your Eyes. And please remember to join us tomorrow as you open your eyes
and start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a wonderful Monday.
It's running after me.
Your Eyes was brought to you by SMART, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.